So you guys have heard a lot of things. If you're in the fitness and nutrition world, you've heard a lot of conflicting information about menopause. A lot of people have anecdotally felt that they start gaining, yay, Tia's here. They start gaining fat, mostly in the midsection. Hormones are all over the place, mood is all over the place. But then you'll see a lot of research saying, oh, that's not actually true. It's not actually due to your hormones. Metabolism actually seems to be the same. It's all because you are not doing the right things in your diet and nutrition, right? So we're constantly getting conflicted information. We're hearing we should not be doing high intensity cardio, cortisol this and cortisol that. And then we're also hearing from other quote unquote experts in the field, and some are and some aren't, but how do you discern that you should be doing cardio, like you know, et cetera, et cetera. We're hearing a lot of conflicting information. And to be honest with you, the real answer is always, always, always somewhere in the middle. It's always a gray zone. And I think really reaching the like height of fitness and nutrition knowledge for yourself, and not even just knowledge, but like place of peace. Part of that is really understanding that there is no one right way. There is no right, that the answer is in the gray zone, and that it might be very individual as well. And when you can fully accept and understand that, you start to be able to pinpoint the bullshit. So you start to be able to look at certain diets that are just calling and screaming to you with all of their marketing and know instantly that that is not like accurate at all. And you can start seeing research studies and comparing them to yourself and seeing if that makes sense. And maybe starting to understand a little bit that there is one big giant pot of gray zone, but there's a lot of truth within that too. So what I hope to be able to do right now is kind of open up that aperture a little bit and give you a little bit of the real truth, but also like just pick you up and place you in the pot of gray zone, because that's what this information is going to do as well. Kind of in a good way, I believe, because I think everybody should be in the gray zone. We're too rigid. And I'm going to talk about that. So obviously, I'm glad to be here. What's up? I'm Jamie. Jamie Barroso, personal trainer, nutrition coach. Been doing this for almost 10 years now. I always say I go by my daughter's age because it was when she was born that I took a year off. I used to be a teacher. I decided to take a year off of teaching. She came in the summer, so it was kind of perfect timing. And in that year, I was like, I'm going to take care of my baby, but I'm also going to learn Spanish, which I did. And I'm also going to either get my personal training certification or get certified for English for speakers of other languages, hoping that when I went back in the classroom, I could do pull out stuff instead of be in the classrooms, kind of my thing. But I didn't do that. I got certified personal trainer. And as soon as I did that, I started having people reach out like, can you help me, et cetera, et cetera. And that was kind of where in that year when she was first born, I started this at the bare bones, like Google Documents, writing programs for people, writing things that I was learning. And it just grew from there. And so here we are. She's about to turn 10 actually on Sunday. And so that kind of marks, I don't call it my like anniversary of the business because there really isn't one. It was such a slow growth. I mean, sure, I probably have an LLC creation date, but I don't know what it is. I'm not one of those people that keeps track of things. But her age is how I know how long I've been doing this. So it's been a long time, come a long way. The business has come a long way. And there's been a lot of information change over the years. And so I'm happy to be able to keep up with it and help you discern it all. So before I get into that, you know that I have to, before I get into two truths and a lie, I have to remind you that if you are not already signed up for your 2-week free trial of the squad, please consider doing so. I am going to show you very briefly a little bit of what that looks like. So the squad is our brand new, so we do one-on-one coaching, right? We write programs for clients, we do nutrition coaching. Of course, that's what we do. We do form checks, helping you master your deadlift, all that good stuff. But I just opened up this new group coaching option. So it makes it extremely affordable to get group coaching, to get online training. And my entire goal is to keep this extremely high quality. So I actually don't want like 100 people in it, 150 people in it, because I feel like the more people that you have, the more you lose people, and connection for me always comes first. So maintaining a connection with every single person that's a part of our community is really important to me. But we're doing a founders rate this week. So for this week only, it's normally going to be $97 a month, which is already a really good price considering you get coaching, you get programs, you get customized macros. Really, it's good. I'm not just saying that because it's me, it's legit. And Right now we're doing a founder's rate. So 50, if you sign up this week, it's only 57 a month, and that never changes. So as long as you stay signed up, no matter how much we increase the price, your price always stays 57 a month. And for everything that you get, it's pretty cool. So I was actually going to share with you very briefly a little bit of what our programs look like. I pulled up a tab here because I wanted to be able to show you. So let me share my screen. I want to share this one. If you're on Team Strength Facebook group, you actually can't see this right now, but I'm going to pick up my phone and show you. So this is my view. This is not the client view, but this is a view of a lot of the programs that we have available. So all of these are called MMP. We have MMP3 and MMP4. This is Max Muscle Prime and Max Muscle Prime 3 and Max Muscle Prime 4. Basically, the 3 and 4 stands for how many days a week. Max Muscle Prime 3 is a 3-day-a-week periodized program. Max Muscle Prime 4 is a 4-day-a-week. These programs in themselves will take you like an entire year of programming if you do them start to finish. So that right there is awesome. But then we have a whole bunch of others. We have this Dumbbell Diva program. We have Squats for Tacos, which is a squat. It's for intermediate to advanced lifters who really want to improve their squat strength. We have a power building program, which is my personal favorite. I'm obsessed with this power building program. Buns of Steel, so glute building program. We have, Dumbbell Diva. We have travel workouts. We are working on deadlift programming, getting to your first 1-rep max. Your first, 1-rep max on all the lifts, but your first pull-up. And so that's just a piece of what you get, though. We do weekly training sessions. We have a community group chat on WhatsApp. You get customized macros, so many guides. I could tell you all the guides you get included, but all the nutrition guides and recipes and all the things you need to be successful, as well as access to me as a coach and a trainer to ask questions. So it's really awesome. 2-week free trial right now, risk-free. Come in, download the app, see what it's about, check out the programs. If it's for you, stay at $57 a month. Very low risk. If it's not for you, stay for a coaching call. We have our next coaching call Sunday evening. Stay, join us. If it's still not for you, then cancel. No questions asked. You can cancel on your own. You don't even need to go through me. It's so easy. So that's that. That's my push for the squad. I'm not going to be publicly talking about it too much. It's really only going to be this week, and then you won't see me talk too much about it anymore. All right. 2 truths and a lie. Let's get into it. All right. The 2 truths and a lie today, I am just going to read it. Because sharing the screen is a little difficult when you have 2 things going on at the same time. All right, here we go. Listen up. 2 truths and a lie. Number 1 was that decreased estrogen is not actually a main contributor for increased fat gain in menopausal women. Actually, decreased activity and muscle mass loss are the main contributors. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is that decreased estrogen is a pretty big cause of increased fat gain, primarily in the stomach, for menopausal women. So those directly oppose each other, right? And number 3, while multiple factors play a role in body and belly fat gain in menopausal women, the best way to counteract those effects are through training, nutrition, and movement. Clearly, that's true. We all know number 3 is true. Where there was a lot of back and forth was between 1 and 2. And essentially, are hormones responsible for this increase of fat that women tend to see during menopause, perimenopause, and the funnest part of your life, right? And the answer is 1 is a lie. That decreased estrogen is not a main contributor to increased fat gain in menopausal women, and that it's actually decreased activity and muscle mass loss are the main contributors. That is a lie. Yes, decreased estrogen causes an increase in fat gain, primarily in the stomach for menopausal women. And a lot of you are actually probably sighing in relief because you don't love that truth, but at least it validates your experience, right? Because when you constantly hear from others, no, it's not actually hormones. It's just that you need to be doing better. It can be very frustrating, right? So sure, it's frustrating that there feels like there's this incontrollable element, which isn't 100% incontrollable. We'll talk about that a little bit. It's frustrating to know that there's this element that we can't control, but at the same time, it's very validating, right? Knowing that it's not all quote unquote your fault or your responsibility, right? So here's the deal. Anecdotally, obviously, there's lots of people that report this kind of uncontrollable fat gain that usually happens somewhere around your mid 30s, mid 40s, and obviously in your 50s when we're actively going through menopause. Some people go through it a little earlier in the 40s, but that general time frame of life, a lot of anecdotal, people, obviously, millions of women reporting this. It's definitely in part to menopause itself and estrogen dropping. Okay. Fat mass increases, lean mass decreases, and fat gain is favored in the abdominal region. So a lot of women notice that their bellies start to gain fat at a more rapid pace than maybe it did before. Why does this happen? The exact causes are actually still a little mysterious and murky. Obviously, we know it's connected to estrogen decreasing and testosterone decreasing as well. But the exact mechanics of all of that, even if we did know, would I be able to explain that to you? Probably not. That is not my area of expertise, but it is connected to estrogen dropping, testosterone dropping, and in general, hormones kind of being all over the place. However, this is a very important point. Research also shows that fat gain and lean mass loss that actually starts in premenopause, which is the 4 to 8 years ahead of actual menopause, which if it starts in perimenopause, which is an entire 4 to 8 years ahead of menopause, it makes the actual menopausal fat gain and lean muscle mass loss a little less significant, but still valid, but less significant. And if you were here in the very beginning of this, the little almost like epiphany I had was that I don't consider myself in perimenopause because I'm good, but I am 39. Am I? Oh my God. Yeah, my birthday just passed and I turned 39. What? I'm 39, so I'm almost 40. And that's typically like a perimenopause region. And I did have some weight gain, maybe like 2 years ago that I was surprised by because I didn't change anything. 128 was always kind of my fit weight. So it was smaller before then, but I wasn't fit. It was concerning, right? But my fit weight was always like 128. It was like an average, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. 128-ish is where I sat. And then it was literally when we moved back from Germany to San Antonio. So that was 3 years ago, where my set weight of 128 without changing anything went to 133. And I don't know why. And no matter what I did, every cut I did, I was never able to get below 133 back to 128. And I never knew why. And it's literally right now. And it's fine. I was like, oh, I gained muscle. I left Germany. I was walking everywhere in Germany. I was biking everywhere. I never got in my car. So like there was a lot of things that I could contribute to. A lot of people would say the food, but I don't eat a lot of processed food in America, so I can't chalk it up to that. My diet pretty much stayed the same, but it was more supported in Germany, which is a whole other conversation. Food overseas versus food in America. Anyway, there was a lot of things I could chalk it up to that I was kind of okay with. Oh, I gained muscle, right? Which was true, but anyway, I've been sitting at 133. And even in this most recent cut, I had gained beyond 133 and I came back down to 133. And I don't seem to want to go below that without a lot of effort and focus, which I don't really care to do. So could be happening as well. The point of that is that it starts to, when we have these little bouts that we might not even notice, like for me, it was like, oh, look at that couple pounds. It's not impacting me that much. But then when we reach actual menopause, and it seems to happen on a kind of a quicker scale, because perimenopause is a long amount of time. So if it's happening little by little, it's easy to kind of overlook or chalk up to other things. But then when all of a sudden, bam, estrogen plummets, because in perimenopause, we've got estrogen kind of doing this. We've got testosterone kind of doing this. We've probably got every other hormone kind of doing this. But in menopause, when we actually hit that wall, it just plummets. And that's when people notice it in a more rapid time frame. And then post-menopausal, all of our hormone levels level off. And we usually don't notice increased fat gain unless our lifestyle is contributing to that, right? Make sure no other clients are popping in here. All right. So if research is showing that process actually starts earlier, then it actually makes the actual menopausal fat gain a little less significant because it's that menopausal fat gain that's piling onto what's already been happening over 4 to 8 years. Okay. And this is obviously not true for everybody, but instead of women will say, oh, I gained this is all from menopause. It's really, this is from menopause. And this was the slow build up to menopause, right? So it makes it a little less significant, the amount that actually piles on that seemingly from, hormones, et cetera, but still valid. Now, why does this happen? Is it only hormones? Are we completely out of control? No. This is really, really important. Yes, hormones play a role. Okay. If nothing else changes in your life, and this is what a lot of women tend to report, nothing changed in my life. And I all of a sudden started gaining fat. I all of a sudden started, XYZ. The reality is, yes, low testosterone, fluctuating in low levels of estrogen definitely contribute to that and seem to direct more fat gain to your belly. There's also lean mass loss that happens over the age of 30 for literally everyone. It's just a phenomenon. Men, women alike, about 3 to 8% of lean mass per year, starting at around age 30, which is young, guys. Around age 30, your body will just start shedding 3 to 8% of your lean mass. Why does it do that? Because it's not really that important. You're fine. It's, for men, testosterone starts to go down as well. So that's part of it, but it's a part of the natural aging process. Okay. So we've got testosterone and estrogen being a big one. Yes, thumbs up. We've got lean mass loss that naturally happens with aging. That's contributing to this because lean mass, it increases your metabolism. It helps you look better at the same weight. So you can maybe not change weight, but if you have more muscle mass, you're going to look different than you do if you have less muscle mass. So we've got that phenomenon happening. We also have decreased activity levels. It's just what it is. You are very likely, well, maybe not you because you are here and you're part of this group. So maybe you're not inactive, but a lot of people, majority of people become less active when they get older. Part of this is just due to whatever, aging, you're busy, and work. We have desk jobs. You're less active than when you were in your 20s. For most people, that's true. I remember going on a hike and I was in Germany. We were hiking to a castle and my nephew was visiting and he was 15 at the time, I want to say 15, 16. And we were both wearing Fitbits and we both went for this long hike to the castle. But when we compared our Fitbits, his step count was like 6,000 more than mine. Like we had both hit 10,000 steps on the hike, but he had hit somehow 16,000. And I was like, what? How did that even? And then I realized I was walking in a straight line. He was zipping up this hill and zipping up that hill and jumping on that rock and go climbing in that tree real quick. We are naturally more active when we're young. And granted, he's 15, but that kind of continues when we're in our 20s. We're bouncing around, doing things, dancing, whatever it may be. And we become a lot more sedentary. 100%. That is a cause of lowered calorie burn as we age and increase fat mass. Okay. A lot of us aren't strength training. Okay. It's just now starting to be something that doctors are recommending more, the good ones that actually do research, because they're not trained in nutrition and training. So doctors should not be giving you exercise advice or nutrition advice because they're not trained in it. Okay. Keep that in mind. They're trained in medicine. They're trained in medicine, not fitness and nutrition. So whatever advice your doctor gives you regarding fitness and nutrition, you have to question because it's not their expertise. Their expertise is something else. Increased calorie consumption. Okay. We're eating more. If you look at any graph, any research, any chart, we're eating more. You might not be, but as a whole, we're eating more calories. We're caring less about it while our activity levels going down, while we have all these other things happening. And then, when we want to smack on top is when you actually hit menopause and you have other symptoms that start really affecting you. Maybe it's increased stress. Maybe it's that you're not sleeping as well. Maybe it's that your hunger hormones start to go all over the place. Maybe it's that you're moody. When we add all those other stressors that happen in menopause, it becomes a lot harder to actually be consistent with a training and nutrition plan to combat the fat loss, right? So yes, low estrogen has an impact on your body fat. If you do everything else right, you will probably still notice an increase in some way or it being a lot harder than it used to be, right? But that is not the only thing. And that is a really, really important point to drive home in this message in this live, this huge phenomenon that I see, and I've been seeing this for years, and it's not going away, and it probably never will, is I see people in general have this very black and white way of thinking. If I could have 5 cents for every time I have had a client onboarding call where they have said, you know, I'm just a really black and white thinker, I'd be rich, because it's literally everybody. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not that black and white in life, but I tend to be really black and white with this. Most people are super black and white when it comes to fitness and nutrition. Part of that sure is personality based, part of that is natural, part of that is because the fitness and nutrition industry has really kind of wired us to be that way, with constantly showing us these, this is the one thing, this is the one thing, and it causes you to kind of almost be in camps for things, right? So there's this huge phenomenon of people being mostly black and white thinking. Some examples. Oh, I ate crappy this meal. I went off the rails. And so screw the week. I'll start again Monday, right? Black and white. Oh, I missed a workout. So screw nutrition. I didn't work out, so who cares if I eat well, right? Tying them too closely together. Oh, I worked out in the opposite way. I worked out really hard. That was a great workout. I went for a long hike. I'm going to down 3,000 calories, right? Hormones are making these results so much harder. So screw all the other foundations. I'm just going to chalk it up to hormones and go do extra cardio and be miserable when it doesn't do anything. Okay. This happens all the time. So you got to get really, really clear with yourself. Like, am I guilty of that? Guaranteed you are. And that's okay. Guaranteed you are guilty of this black and white thinking. But it's a good thing, because as soon as you are aware of it, that is when we can start to adjust and change. Okay. So like the reality is, right, that while many women kind of notice this seemingly uncontrollable changes that are happening in their body, there's so much that you can do to help counteract those effects or mitigate those effects. Okay. A lot of people will say, oh, what I did in my 20s doesn't seem to work anymore. Right. I hear so many people say that what I did in my 20s doesn't seem to work anymore. There's a couple reasons for that. Partly, it's because what you did in your 20s was shit, okay? It was never good in the first place, but it worked because you had all these other things going for you, like optimized hormones and higher activity level, and you probably weren't eating much, and I don't know, maybe you were drinking and smoking cigarettes, who knows? But then you can implement literally anything and your body's going to react to it. So even if you were doing something that was really, really crappy, it might have worked, right? So the reality is that the foundations matter way more. It's not that what you did in your 20s doesn't work anymore. It's that you can't get away with that crap anymore. Okay. We can't get away with doing any of that crap anymore. And when we try to get away with it, we are so frustrated and you're spinning your wheels and just frustrated, right? So the reality is the foundations of good nutrition, of good health, of good fitness matter even more now. And no, it is not too late. No matter where you are in your journey with menopause, perimenopause, whatever it is not too late. Here's exactly what you need to do in order to kind of counteract those effects. Can you completely mitigate it? That depends on the person. So some people will notice when they implement all these foundations, they literally feel the same as maybe they did in their 20s or early 30s, right? Some people notice not as much, right? That is very individual, but there's a lot that you can do to mitigate. Hormones are only one piece of the pie. If you miss every other piece of the pie, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is you need to send the signal to your body, to your brain, not to decrease muscle mass. All right. Yes, we notice a decrease in muscle mass after the age of 30, but I'm 39 and I can tell you that has not happened to me. If anything, I have increased my muscle mass, and it's because of what I do in the gym and what I'm eating. I'm sending the signal to my body that no, that might be true for everybody else, but that's not true for me. Okay. You need to send that signal to your body not to decrease muscle mass, because as long as your body has a reason to hold on to it, it will. Okay. Now, yes, you can actually build muscle back up. It will be harder. If you are perimenopause, postmenopausal, active menopause, it is going to be harder to gain muscle if you've already experienced muscle loss, but it is not impossible. It happens. I want to show you an image. I need to share my screen for this. And many of you have probably seen this. Hold on, I need to pull it up on my actual. I hope that you've seen this. If you haven't, then this will be really interesting for you to see. Oh, gotta get it. Hold on. Stay with me. Stay with me. There it is. All right. And if you're watching on the phone, I'm going to hold up my phone in a sec. All right, take a look at this. This is, so we're looking at the inside of a thigh. So if you were to cut your thigh in half, this is what we're looking at. So this is the thigh. So this is the bone in the middle. It looks like a ribeye, right? It's essentially what a ribeye is, right? That's the bone. And this is the muscle. And surrounding that is the fat. And then the thin layer is the skin. This is a 40-year-old triathlete. All right. So we've got lots of muscle, very minimal fat. All the white little lines are fat. Here is a 70-year-old sedentary man. So this kind of, I don't know what you would call that. That's muscle and it's very modeled. Is that the word I'm looking for? This is all fat. And then we've got skin. Okay. But here we have the, here, sorry, use my mouse. Here we have the scan of a 70-year-old triathlete. And if you compare the 70-year-old triathlete to the 40-year-old triathlete, you will see that there's no difference in the muscle. Okay. So this proves that as long as we're sending the right signal to our bodies, we are able to maintain and even build muscle mass as we age. If you do nothing, or if you do everything wrong, then this is what we're going to end up with. All right. Back to my notes. So, very important thing. You need to send the signal to your body. How do we do that? Obviously, resistance training, obviously, strength training. Have you not really strength trained in the past? Are you not really sure if you're doing it correctly? Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm a personal trainer, and that's what I specialize in. So consider joining the squad. We have programs for all levels. So seriously, you need to be resistance training in some way, minimum 2 days a week. All right. The second thing you need to do is you need to stop dieting. All right. If you're on this process of building and maintain muscle, you need to stop chronically dieting. Your body needs carbs. Okay. It needs fiber. It needs calories to fuel the muscle building process and optimize your hormone levels. Okay. Your body, women's bodies, hormones in particular, are very sensitive and responsive to food intake. Okay. Energy intake, nutritional intake. And if you're not fueling your body with the nutrients it needs in order to be successful with what you're trying to do in the gym, then we're going to be stuck in a rock and a hard place. I call it burning the candle at both ends. Okay. You need to give your body the fuel it needs to, yes, build muscle, but also optimize your hormones the best we can in this crazy time of life. All right. Because they're going to respond so much better. And you're going to get through peri and menopause so much better when you're fueling properly, because your hormones will be, yes, responding to aging and menopause, but they won't also be responding to under fueling yourself. Okay. We can't give it two challenges. Try to take away as many challenges as you can for your body. And this is one way you can do it. Stop dieting. All right. Does that mean you can never diet? No, that's not what that means. But if you're constantly in this state of kind of under eating and dieting and watching what you eat, then you're never going to give your body the fuel it needs to do what it needs to do, so that when you return to dieting, it doesn't freak the F out. Okay. Because what happens when you're kind of chronically dieting, you kind of do dips like this, but you're chronically in this underfed kind of state. Your body is never really able to really fully optimize hormones, not really able to build optimal muscle mass. And it's not really getting the signal that it should, honestly, because you're not fueling it. And I'm talking about your body as if it's this little person with its own little brain. And that, I think, is a very relatable way to talk about it. If you stop dieting all the time and build muscle and really lean into that process, then when you do return to a calorie deficit or dieting, your body doesn't freak out and start dropping muscle mass and start dysregulating your hormones. It doesn't see it as a threat, because you've given it that time to actually fuel the process you want to fuel, right? So you have to stop chronically dieting. You kind of have to earn the right to decrease your calories, right? And yes, you need to track. I've said this before. This little example of my mom cracks me up. My mom is amazing and she's super fit. I mean, epitome of 60 something year old woman is my mom, but she still kind of has this stuff. I'm off to eat my quiche. Bye, Lori. She still has all this stuff in her mind, right? But she has been trying to lose 5 teeny tiny pounds for her wedding, which is coming up in the end of June, and she's been trying since before Christmas. So it's been a long time and she's been frustrated. She'll lose it and gain it back and lose it and gain it back in a weekend. And it's constant. And she was venting to me on the phone once. And I've learned to just kind of listen, and I don't give my opinion unless she asks for it. But she was like, what do you think I should do? And I was like, you need to track your intake. And she's like, but it's so hard. I'm like, I know. Give it a month. Give it 30 days of solid consistency. You have time. Track your intake. See what you're actually eating. She even tried a challenge at her gym that like had her like get rid of eggs. She eats eggs every morning. She was starving every morning. Wasn't working. I was like, you need to just track what you're eating. Do it for 2 weeks, see where you're at, and then adjust from there. And she called me back like, we talked in between then about other things, but it was like 3 or 4 weeks later that she was like, oh my God, you were right. And I was like, oh yeah, tell me more. And she was like, I finally just committed to it. I'm tracking everything. I've even had a couple of weekend nights where I have gone off track and I've enjoyed my night. I've had wine, whatever. We went out to eat. But then when I on Sunday, I started tracking again and I've been really, really consistent and I'm able to eat the things that I want. I don't have to get rid of eggs or I can even eat some bread if I wanted it. But now I'm losing weight and it's actually staying off and it's going down consistently over weeks instead of what she would do is kind of crash during the week, lose pounds, and then weekend would gain them right back. And she'd back to square one every single week. And so now she's actually consistently falling week after week. It's going down and it'll come up a little bit, but then it'll go down and go down. And so she's like, I wish more people knew this. I wish more. I'm like, sometimes you just have to experience it in order to try it. So yeah, track your intake because these crazy diets out there are not what you need to be doing. And yeah, go ahead and do cardio. Okay. It actually can help reduce cardiovascular activity, especially at a higher level, can actually help reduce visceral fat, which is belly fat. Visceral fat is the fat that accumulates kind of like around your organs and in your belly. It's the fat subcutaneous fat, which is fat everywhere else, is under the skin. Higher levels of that too are not, sometimes undesirable, but it's the visceral fat that's actually kind of dangerous and we don't really want it around. Cardiovascular activity can actually help to reduce visceral fat independent of nutrition, independent of calories. So you might not necessarily, like if your diet is not in check, then you might not necessarily lose total body fat, but what you will do is lose visceral fat and maybe gain a little like under the skin fat. It might balance out is what I'm saying if your nutrition's not in check. But cardiovascular activity in itself can help reduce visceral fat independent of nutrition. There's lots of studies that show this. It's not magic. It chips away over time, just like everything else. It's not like you start doing cardio and all your belly fat goes away. Okay. So don't get misguided, but it's definitely like a check in the right column. However, this is where people mess up because you're constantly hearing you shouldn't be doing cardio. You shouldn't be doing high intensity cardio, cortisol this and cortisol that. The problem is not the cardio. The problem is the way that you attack your fitness goals and the way that you attack exercise and the way that you attack fueling yourself or not fueling yourself. Okay. The problem, the way that women mess up is that they're underfeeding themselves. We just talked about. They're not giving themselves chance for recovery. They're doing, F45 or Orange Theory or spin class or whatever. They're doing it every day. Then they're trying to add strength training because this girl named Jamie online told them they should. And they are just doing too much. Getting too frustrated, and it's leading to continuous unbalancing of hormones, right? We're not doing our bodies any favors. Inability to support muscle gain. Your body's not going to do it. It's still going to decrease muscle or muscle maintenance, right? And then they chase a calorie burn. So our mindset's still in the wrong place. We're trying to burn calories. We're trying to sweat, and we're trying to get fat loss. And, you get yourself stuck. So that's what I don't want you to do. If you're going to implement cardio, especially higher intensity cardio, you need to fuel yourself properly. You need to not be constantly dieting. All of these things, you need to master the foundations. But yes, you can safely implement and recover from cardio as long as you're not burning the candle at both ends. And that's where we get cortisol actually really having an impact, or hormones in general. Okay. All right, movement. Last thing, I'm almost done. This is longer than I thought, which is good because I think this is a lot of good information. Movement. Studies consistently show that we're moving less. Okay, we're moving less. And not just walking. I mean, look what I'm doing with my hands right now. This is neat. This is non-activity, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So basically movement you do outside of exercise. We're sitting a lot, but we're also sitting very still. We're not jittering our legs. We're not moving our hands. We're not like my nephew, we're walking, but we're not zipping up this rock and that tree and that tree. Like our total energy kind of is a little bit lower. And so that's coming out in a lot of different ways. So we're not only more sedentary, but we're also like not as like buzzy, you're not using your body in other movement ways. So all of that is decreasing the calories that your body's going to naturally burn. So yeah, aim for those 8 to 10K steps. I don't care what you see online that says, 10K steps is not actually valid. Ignore that. Sure, the actual number 10K came from a marketing thing from Japan, but it's based in validity because multiple studies have been shown that somewhere between 8 and 12,000 steps a day, and that's supposed to give a barometer on general movement, is what is best for like general health, longevity, calorie burn, et cetera, et cetera. Where we start to see negative impacts is below 7K. All right. So when we can get up to 7, 8 to 12, that's a great range to be in. So yeah, chase the step count. It's gonna be massively helpful. All right, any questions? Somebody just popped in. You popped in at the end, so you're gonna have to. I invited like literally, I think like 2 minutes before I went live, I invited our clients to come on to the Zoom. So that's why you kind of see them in there. But as part of the squad, you get to come live to all of the things we do, and we do weekly calls. So make sure you start your 2-week trial today. Start your 2-week trial today. Any questions you guys have about any of this stuff? If you don't have any questions, give me a thumbs up. If you are tuning in like either late or halfway through or whatever, then go back and watch the ending. All right, let me check Facebook. Remember, if you don't have a question, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Doop-de-doo. Just to find my Facebook tab. If you're done, if you don't want to see me do this anymore, you can go. But give me a thumbs up first. Any questions? Any questions? Ooh, Becky, what do you do about low estrogen? Becky is a client, so I know that she's been struggling with this. I have been prescribed an estrogen patch, but I feel bad when I wear it. So can I still gain muscle with low estrogen? I'm curious if you could send me a private message via the app. I would love to hear more about how you're feeling on the estrogen patch. Actually, I've been meaning to reach out to you. So send me a private message and give me some more info on that. Yeah, obviously, like hormone replacement therapy is going to help for most people. Not everybody, obviously, as Becky's not having a great experience on it. Yes, you still can, but it makes it harder. It's definitely harder because estrogen helps with that and testosterone helps with that. So I would encourage checking your testosterone levels as well. I'm not a hormone expert, but I do know that much. So estrogen patch can help. You can also consider if you're not feeling great on hormone replacement therapy, like getting your levels adjusted. So it could be like how much your body's getting from that, right? But again, the foundations matter so much. So really focusing on what I always encourage is stop focusing on trying so hard to change the way your body looks. And I know it seems counterproductive because that's what you want, especially when you start noticing these body changes. It's infuriating. But by constantly chasing that, you actually kind of get yourself in a bind. So a lot of times what I encourage people is like, look, I know this is hard. Like, my gosh, virtually impossible. You have to lean in to what your body is right now. You have to buy clothes that you feel good in. You have to go ahead and get the new outfits and put the other ones away and buy things that flatter you. And then you have to lean into your fitness and your nutrition routine with a mindset of health, with a mindset of strength, with a mindset of mobility. I was just talking to somebody, a potential new client the other day, and one of the things she was telling me is like, you know what? I'm in my 40s now. Yeah, I want to see fat loss. I don't feel like this body is mine. She was like, I feel like I'm myself when I'm walking around in the world. And then I see a picture of myself where I look in the mirror and I'm like she kind of looks like me. It's not me. Like she just a lot of like, and I know that a lot of you guys can relate to that. So, but what she said to me was like, sure, my goal, because I always ask, what are your goals? Because I want to set up the most optimal path to help people get to where they want to be. Yeah, sure. I would love to see fat loss, but I want to increase my strength. I want to increase my muscle mass. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. I want to feel like a badass in the gym. I want to increase my mobility. I want to be able to jog and run without pain. She's a prior runner. She wants to be able to go run. She knows that body fat loss will help with that because if you're lower weight, it's easier to run, less, whatever on your joints. So I told her, I was like, I cannot tell you. She was like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't give you a weight goal. I was like, dude, I'm so happy to hear all of that because all of that mindset is going to get you where you want to be. Not only a lot quicker and a lot more accurately, but a lot more kind of happier and not feeling like you're fighting the system forever, right? That's the mindset we have to go into it with, because if you're constantly chasing those aesthetic changes, you're probably going to feel like you're constantly stuck in a cycle. And the reality is it's a balance between, yes, working towards those aesthetic changes, but also working towards accepting where you're at right now, because only when we can combine those two things are we going to find like true success. Okay. I always joke too by saying, like, when you're laying in your deathbed, when you're 90, you're not going to be, or hopefully 110, you're not going to be looking back at this time in your life, like, you know, wishing that you would have just like dieted harder, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's so many great things about life and fitness and nutrition outside of affecting the way our body looks. So just try to make sure that we don't lose that, because it's very important. Awesome. That was a great question, Becky. Any other questions before I let you guys go? Tia, I don't quite understand what you mean by burning the candle at both ends with cardio. If I increase my cardio, should I not be cutting calories? All right, so that's a common thought. And sometimes, yes. Okay, so if we're doing cardiovascular activity, shouldn't we be cutting calories? I want you to think of calorie. I'm trying to think of the most simple way to explain this. It's like calories in and calories out, right? One way to create less calories going in is cutting your calories, right? So we can take our calories from 2,000 calories to 1,800, and now we have 200 calories less, right? We all know that. Another option would be continue to eat 2,000 calories, but then exercise, do cardio to burn 200 calories. So now we've got 200 calories burned, or 200 calories less. It's still 200 calories, but are we burning it, or are we just never intaking it in the first place, right? Which one's better? And then I'll talk about doing both of them at the same time. It's actually better to do it via diet. And the reason is you can actually be accurate. I can look at a food label right now and know what's 200 calories, right? I can track my food and know that I'm actually reducing by around 200 calories. There's no way to know how much you're burning when you do cardiovascular activity. Your trackers are going to be up to 70% inaccurate. Okay. There's really no way to know. You could burn way more because you go crazy with it. You could burn way less because you're actually pretty adapted, or not actually working as much as you think you are, because your body is actually pretty good at it. There's no way to know. So it's much more, if you're trying to get rid of 200 calories out of your intake, it's much better to do it via diet. You can add cardio in strategically to increase that calorie burn. But if we do both, all right, if we do both, if we're cutting calories and adding cardiovascular activity, we're increasing the amount of calories that essentially our body is like not intaking or burning or whatever it is, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But where I say that we're burning the candle at both ends a lot of times, can you give it, Camila, a gentle knock and see if she wants you to take care of Oliver? She's got to be up. She's got to hear. It's like the third day of summer break. And my daughter's been sleeping until like 10 a.m. She's a cardio teenager. If we do both, it's possible. Yes, we can do both. But the thing is, and I've talked about this before, I always recommend doing it in phases. Do it via diet first, see the progress you want to see, add in cardio, whatever. But I don't want you to track those as like calories burned. I just want you to moderately adjust your calorie intake. And then when we reach maybe a point where we're kind of adapted, maybe we're not losing as fast, maybe you're starting to be hungry, you don't want to decrease your calories anymore, then add in a little bit extra movement to try to increase it, what we're burning on this end, but don't go nuts. Okay. Go like strategically. Now, where we get ourselves in trouble is what I call burning the calories at both ends. We're doing it here. We're decreasing our food. We're increasing all of our activity. And you're doing it so much that your body adapts very quickly. So it's not, hey baby, please stop calling him. He needs to go out to pee, and I'm on a live call right now. Is Joaquin going to take him out, or are you going to take him out? Okay, go take him out. Still here. Okay. Stop. Burning the candle at both ends is essentially doing too much and not fueling yourself. So cutting calories too drastically, doing too much cardio, and then your hormones are going to start get dysregulated. Your body's going to adapt very quickly to that, and is going to have a really hard time losing body fat, building muscle, and that is burning the candle at both ends. So if So there's a couple of things we can do. What I encourage everybody to do is spend time not dieting, not decreasing calories. Okay. You can add to that burn if you want, but not for calorie burn. I want you to do it because you enjoy cardio, because you enjoy the health benefits. That's why I want you to do it. And then I want you to make sure you're eating enough to support all that. So let's say you're burning 2,500 calories a day. I want you to eat 2,500 calories a day. Okay. And by doing that, you're going to allow your hormones to be balanced. Your body's going to build muscle in the training because it's got the fuel that it needs, et cetera, et cetera. And then when we're ready to diet, we pull calories down via a calorie deficit. And you're doing it in a way that your body isn't instantly like going, and it doesn't hold on to fat necessarily, but your adaptation will occur and it'll it will happen either quicker or it will happen slower. I am not available to help you right now. Do the other things on your list. Anyway, I hope that answered it. So it's basically doing too much all at once, and it's going against what you actually want to do. We also tend to, at some point, and I don't know where you are with this, Tia, but like at some point, beginners and maybe in the very beginning of intermediate have success, like, you're welcome. Like kind of doing maintenance calories and kind of getting the benefits of both muscle building and fat loss. But there comes a point where, in your life where you might want to focus different seasons on prioritizing one or the other. So prioritizing muscle gain, prioritizing fat loss. And when you prioritize fat loss, you'll probably notice a decrease in your ability to gain muscle and gain strength, but that's okay, because if we send the right signal to our bodies during the process, we can maintain it. And that's really important, right? So you don't want to diet and then stop at strength training, because that's the worst thing you can do. But if you're focusing on fat loss, and accepting that your strength and your muscle mass is going to stay the same while you focus on this goal, that's fine to do. But then when our body starts to adapt to that fat loss, et cetera, and adaptation, a lot of people respond too quickly to plateaus. It's a whole other live we could do. Once your body starts to kind of down-regulate or your mind is just kind of done, then we bring it back up and then we can focus on building strength and bringing muscle. And then we can go back over here and focus a little bit more on fat loss. And that doesn't mean fat loss won't happen when you're over here focusing on strength and muscle. It still will. But if you want to do a little bit more rapid fat loss and see it happen a little bit more consistently, then we want to kind of put all our eggs in that basket. And that's when you can start. That's when we hear bulking, cutting, and maintaining and all these words that may or may not apply to you, but basically having your eggs in one basket or the other. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions? Give me a thumbs up if you got nothing. Whoa. So my team strength Facebook group has a lot of comments, but I don't see them on my phone, so that's annoying. Let me see what you guys got here. Kids don't help with cortisol levels, but they sure are cute. Wait, what? Nothing. Chiropractor recently said to me that he often feels bone through the tissue on people's arms. He said that with me, he didn't get that, but could feel a good amount of muscle. So to keep doing what I'm doing, I'm 55 and menopausal. That's awesome. Janice, you're a great example. I would actually love to do a live like this where I bring somebody like you on, like Janice, or there's a couple of other women that I can think of off the top of my head who are menopausal or postmenopausal, who have been able to counteract a lot of the effects. That would be really cool to be able to talk to you guys about that and see what you're doing. And it would help a lot of people. People like hearing from like real people, right? This is Oliver. He's our little dog we're watching for the week. I think that was all the comments on there. Any other questions, guys? All righty. Awesome. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for being here with me today. And we will chat soon. I'm going to say bye to Zoom first. Bye, Zoom.